Hey guys, I'm Greg, this is Q. Today, we're here to do our review and react for Better Call Saul, Episode 3, Nacho. Who comes up with these names? I assume it's called Nacho because, you know, it's kind of about Nacho.
Yeah.
Want to do a quick correction on last week before we get started.
Alright.
I did say that I'm awful with names. Toward the end of the video, I referred to Nacho as No-Dos and No-Dos as no one. Alright. Having moved on from that one little bit of whatever, in the future I may get names confused again. It's not my strong suit, but if I catch it, I'll correct it. Today's episode starts with a flashback. 3 episodes in a row in one way or another, it's been a flashback or flash. The very first episode was actually, I guess, a flash present. Second episode was a flashback to show us who was on the other side of the gun pointing in Saul's face and why. Third episode, first 5 to 6 minutes, was a flashback. They don't give an exact date, but I feel it was the mid-90s based on the gigantic Zach Morris phone that his brother, and that was also revealed there, his brother Chuck dropped into the slide. I believe you and I last week made mention of the thought that we felt Chuck was his brother, not his father.
I think we did.
Anything to add to any of that?
Not really. They made, first of all, in that flashback, Chuck looked a lot better, like a lot younger.
Yeah, so did Saul. We talked about, I wonder if they used a computer or a lot of makeup. I don't know which.
Maybe a lot of makeup.
Maybe a lot of both. They lead you, this is kind of an important flashback because it verifies that Chuck is his brother. It shows Chuck when he wasn't a complete mental case. And it also kind of leads you into the area that this is why Jimmy McGill became a lawyer. They don't tell you what the choice he had to make to get out was, but I believe it was to go to law school. So depending, say if this would actually had to have been probably 94, 93 for him to go through law school and get to 2002 and be a lawyer of any sort.
Law school takes a lot of time.
Indeed it does. And even at that point, they're pushing it. The next shot in the show, we jump from that to Saul, drunk in the nail parlor, calling Kim. This was kind of just to move the story along. He calls Kim and tells her he thinks that there may be a danger to the Kettlemans. Any input there? Again, just moving the story along.
I think he blabs too much.
He seems a bit self-destructive. There was really no reason for him to do any of that whatsoever. It just seems kind of like he has a self-destructive streak to him. From there, he goes to the desert. I say the desert, out of town, to a payphone to call the Kettlemans and warn them. After 3 to 4 minutes of speaking into a tube and them not understanding him, he finally blurts it out. At which point we pull away, seeing a van with Nacho watching the house. And then we went to commercial.
Yeah.
While we're on commercial, I'll throw this in. I use StorySync while I'm watching Better Call Saul. Only like 3 times in an hour does it have anything useful. It has a lot of context and whatnot, but every once in a while it'll give you a little bit of an insight to the scene you just saw. So I highly recommend that if you get the chance to use it while you're watching it live. Any input there, sir?
Is there a StorySync app?
Yes, there is a StorySync app as well.
That would only make sense, you know.
Yeah, he asked because I do it on a laptop because I like to see it big. I look at a phone. Next, we're at the toll booth again, where Saul has another run-in with Mike. This is where he calls him an old geezer upon getting the news that the Kettlemans have been kidnapped. He pushes the button and drives away, leaving Mike.
The old geezer.
That made me laugh.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a good line, old geezer. I've actually used that myself a time or two, so it kind of works out. We now go to the Kettleman house where Saul is met by police and various members of the McGill law firm to hear the bad news. Again, a lot of this episode just feels like the story's just kind of moving along with just a pace. When we get to the end of this and we talk about it a little more, you'll see there was more to this episode, though. It's just really kind of just telling a story in a straightforward fashion, or so you think. We then go to Saul trying to get a hold of Nacho, who he is now convinced kidnapped the Kettlemans, calling them from a payphone. At which point, you were ahead of me, I will say. I thought Saul was just being paranoid when he saw people walking towards him from either end of the street. You felt differently.
Yeah.
Did you feel it was cops, or did you feel it was Nacho's people coming to get him?
I thought it was Nacho's people. I was not expecting cops, so they kind of twisted that around there.
I was expecting neither, because I didn't think anyone could trace a cell phone or a payphone. There we go. That quick. Since it was the police, they paid it off and made it make sense. But I was surprised. I thought he was being needlessly paranoid. We then transition into Nacho in jail. Nacho is not happy in jail. Feels really weird just continually calling him Nacho.
Yeah.
Nacho is not pleased. He blames Saul for his predicament. But then we come to the kind of the twist in the road on this. Nacho is innocent. He didn't do it. Then begs the question, who did do it? At this point, personally, I thought that maybe we were going to get another Tuco appearance. Maybe Tuco had somehow figured out his plan, swooped in and did it. But that was not the case. Jimmy McGill goes out to plead his case to the police that his client is innocent. And by the way, if he doesn't get Nacho out by sundown, Nacho's probably going to have him killed. So,
like a Nacho does.
Yeah. Nobody likes a soggy Nacho.
That's right.
That's right. We now transition back over to the house where Saul is doing a walkthrough with the police because he believes he can find something to show their innocence. Now, at this point, I became convinced that the Kettlemans were hiding in their boat.
Ugh.
He's up late. So I'm screaming at the TV, the Kettlemans are in their boat! He adds that they can't hear me, and I'm a firm believer at this point the Kettlemans are in the boat. Where did you think, you never voiced an opinion as to where you thought the Kettlemans were. Where did you think the Kettlemans were?
I didn't know, but I didn't think they were in the boat because that's a stupid idea because wouldn't someone come repossess the boat after them being missing for a while?
Well, it was a short, it turns out they were in a tent in the desert, and we'll get to that, but it was a short-sighted plan anyway, but from the looks of that boat, it was one of those like houseboats. It had bedrooms and a kitchen, and it was tarped up so you couldn't see if they had lights on. So I thought it would have been perfect, and then they could come out at night. And I really thought they were sitting in the boat listening to Saul have the conversation about them the whole time. I just thought it was... I almost think they set it up too perfectly to throw people off. But I was wrong.
You were.
It's all right. I was right last week about Chuck being his brother, so kind of evens
Win
out.
some, lose some.
That's right. Back at the booth, Saul now has to get back into the jail, and or in the courthouse, as the case may be. The combo, the jail-courthouse combo. And Mike is holding a grudge about the last time Saul was there, pressed the button and called him an old geezer. Long story short, Saul puts the finger poke of doom on Mike, at which point Mike begins to whip his ass. We then cut forward to Saul on a bench. The police are trying to get him for assault and have Mike press charges. How did you think this was going to end up before it did? Did you think that they were going to get Mike to press charges against Saul?
I did. I thought that. Yeah. I thought that was going to be the outcome of the situation.
I did not, purely because Mike does not want to do what other people want him to do. He's a stubborn old man.
Stubborn old geezer.
A stubborn old geezer that will whip your ass, though.
Yeah.
To his credit. At this point, we get kind of a breakthrough on the Mike-Saul relationship. Mike decides not to press charges. So Saul chases him down in a stairwell to ask him why. Mike reveals that he does believe what Saul had to say, and then he's the one that puts it in Saul's head that they're probably still at the house, thus saving Saul's ass.
And Saul also learned that Mike used to work for the police force in Philadelphia.
That's right. Absolutely right. So we get a lot... Again, for an episode where there's not much seemingly going on right off the bat, they answer the question about who is Chuck. He's Saul's brother. We get how Mike and Saul started, maybe a little bit, to work together. There's a lot going on here.
So they're planting seeds.
Planting seeds, that's right. At this point, we go to Saul, and he goes back to the house. And again, I'm screaming, "Look in the boat, Saul!" But Saul, being smarter than me, sees one of those little stick pictograms on the back of a vehicle showing the family in a tent. I don't know. Do you know what an anchorism is?
Not off the top of my head.
An anchorism is something that should not be in a time frame. Like if you're watching Spartacus and a plane flies over.
Oh, like the Baghdad batteries.
Yeah, just anything. Anything that doesn't fit. Like, if the cell phone at the beginning of the show would have been an Apple iPhone, that's an anchorism. Okay. I'm curious, and I'm sure because the people that produce this show are really smart, but I don't remember how long the little stick figure families have been on the back of car windows. I'm curious if that predates 2002 or if it happened in 2002 or what. But when I saw that, weirdly, that was my thought. I was like, those have been around that long, huh? Because you forget the show is supposed to now take place 12 years ago. That was my only question, not even a gripe. He sees the tent, figures out they like to camp, goes through the house, into the backyard, out into the great beyond to find them. At which point, he finds them playing patty cake or God knows what, singing show tunes in a tent. Any input on any of that?
I found it kind of like, it wouldn't happen like that. I don't think it'd be that easy to just walk around and find them.
Well, they stressed that they weren't real smart. Beyond him finding them, your foot's making weird sounds.
Sorry.
It's all right. Beyond him finding them, they weren't real smart, but I would have thought that like bloodhounds would have found him or something if they would have been searching for the family. Again, which leads me to why not just hide in the boat? Because of course animals would be all over that because you live right there. Again, just trying to make the boat thing make sense and it doesn't. Saul unzips the tent, scares the crap out of them, uses the "Here's Johnny" line from The Shining, and then tries to get them to come back with him. At which point they start pulling on the bag, having a tug of war. He's trying to get them out of the tent, and they're trying to stay. Before the bag breaks open, you and I are both like, that's where the money is. Here comes the money.
And then 210 bundles of cash follow the bag.
We know how many bundles of cash because we used the story sync.
That's right.
We didn't steal the thing and count them, but they told us how many. 210 bundles. They even broke it down into denominations and whatnot.
Like how much it weighed.
Yeah, I didn't go that far into it, but 210 bundles. They leave the show like the show to my mind was really had another 10 minutes. It felt like they ended it early. I think now they have to hire him because he's seen the money.
Yeah.
So from this show we got that he has a brother, him and Mike are working together. Nacho wants to kill him, and he's probably got his first big money client because they really have no choice. A lot happened in this show, even though it didn't feel like it. It was pretty peaceful. And from the coming attractions for next week,
next one looks really good.
Looks really, really excellent. Did you see any Easter eggs in this one? I didn't catch anything that...
Not really, no.
The story sync had one flashback to him being on the payphone and how similar the shot was to him talking to... Skylar. See, off with names. At a different point. It was like the same camera angle, same positioning. I don't know if they do things like that on purpose or if they're doing an homage to their own shows or what, but that was cool. That was the only one we have. Let's see. Oh, one other thing that was confirmed. He lives in the nail salon. He doesn't live with his brother. I had some discussions with people out in the real world that were convinced, A, the guy wasn't his brother, and that B, he lived there. But I was resolute. I said, no, he lives in the nail salon.
Yeah, he has a little bed and all that.
A little bed, and he's kicking it. So that's one smaller thing that we got cleared up in this episode. Let's see. The charges against Saul when he was in jail at the beginning, I went ahead and jotted these down off the story sync. He was in jail at that time for property damage, assault, and public nuisance. There was some kind of mention his brother had made of some sexual assault or something, but that was not in the official charges. Oh, and one last thing. The beverage that Saul was having from the cucumber water was a cucumber cooler. 2 ounces of gin, 4 ounces of cucumber water. Continuing our trend of telling you meaningless facts about drinks during the show. Do you have anything else to add to this episode?
No, it was good, but I'm sure the next one's going to be like way better.
This was one of those like building block episodes that when you go back and watch the whole season, I firmly believe this one will be really important, even though it just felt like they were taking up space with this one. So much happened. When someone's not got a gun in your face, or there's not someone imminently going to kill you, this show's so edgy. When they don't do that, you kind of feel like it's a slow episode. But like story-wise, there was a lot going on. All right, quickly, before we go, since we didn't have to do 2 episodes, do you have a favorite scene?
I really like when he was walking around the desert. I don't know why. Like, the music kind of went with it very well.
You mentioned that they're using maybe a different kind of soundtrack.
Oh, definitely.
The Breaking Bad used a lot of 60s and 70s pop, kind of like Reservoir Dogs era music.
And they did like a lot of like instrumental music too.
Yeah, this one seems to have more of a folk country vibe you mentioned, and I agree. It seems like maybe they're going in a different direction, but that's okay. Two different characters. My favorite scene, of course, was the old geezer scene where he pushes the button and drives away. The only thing that would have made that complete is if he would have shot him the bird out the window on the way by. But that was my personal favorite.
Sure. Yep.
Followed closely by when he goes back and Mike puts him down. I don't know. I like their interaction. So those are my two favorite scenes. Next week, we'll be back. He'll be more awake. He won't have been up for 37 hours straight. Yes, 37.
That's right.
Until then, thanks for watching. And hey, come back tomorrow and watch us review an energy drink.
Yeah.
If only he would have had that energy drink today.
If only.
Last thing on the way out, last week, I promised the way we would improve these videos is by me tapping this pin 70% less during the video. Next week, there will be even less pin tapping.
There will be.
And 37% less yawning.
37.
Look for it. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.